summary for the day of 542 for the 19th of August. So let's do some conclusion, some basically my opinions of what's happening. So going back, in the southern front, I'm really very happy about this corroboration, because the entire reports of the fighting over here is purely by Ryba, and then we now have the corroboration by the Russian Defense Ministry. I'm really very happy that we have a corroboration. So it's nothing about the information per se, but it's just that I'm just happy that there is corroboration that this incident actually happened, and they actually have video evidence of the presence of the Ukrainians over there. Unfortunately, the troops, the entire Ukrainian force seems to have died out. There are, in the video, there are Ukrainian soldiers that the corpse of their, which is totally blurred out, and then there is a lot of Ukrainian weapons, Western weapons that is actually left behind. So over at the this area here in Zaporizhia front at the Orikhiv sector, the Ukrainians are still continuing their attack. Continuing their attack into Robotyne, and they're also attacking towards Verbove. And we have multiple different sources confirming all this information. So that's actually very good. And the Ukrainians are still struggling to move to attack. And with all this information talking about, how this information, let me see, from Russian Army, the pro-Russian source, claiming that the Ukrainians are already throwing in their elite reserves. And this elite reserve is actually also described by Dnipro Osin as the 82nd Air Assault Brigade with the 47th Brigade. And these forces are using the German mothers. I mean, not the, like I said, it's not the mothers, is mothers, infantry fighting vehicles. I'm not assuming their gender, but yeah, and the Striker APC and the Challenger tank, these are actually reserved. They have been keeping behind. They have been not willing to use all these equipments until now, and this is not good because there is actually nothing much left. Because whatever is that they have prepared, they are still waiting for the Abrams tank. And they have also Leopard 1s that is not here. Leopard 1s is totally not within the prepared force by the NATO side, because NATO prepared 9 offensive brigades, and none of them is actually designed to have Leopard 1s. So Leopard 1s are probably prepared for the next offensive. So if you remove the Challenger tanks, if this brigade fail, I think there's only one brigade with Challenger tanks, and that's it. Then we only left with like two or three with Abrams tanks, and that still is usable, and but the Abrams are not here yet. So yeah, they will be in reserve, and we do not know how many more of the Ukrainian brigades are there. The Ukrainian armed with Soviet era weapons, we are not sure. So let's see how this goes. Previously it was said that there was 4, but we do have fighting reported over at Bakhmut, which is an offensive previously, and then we have offensive actions over at Crimea region. So all these locally prepared brigades might be employed in all these different offensives. There might be nothing much left in terms of offensive capability. I'm not saying that they can't defend, because they can always throw territorial defense into all these trenches. Just that what they have for offensive actions might be running out, as per what Russian Army is talking about. So at least based on known information, that's all we know that they have. So let's see how this goes. I'm not sure how far they can go, because we're still at the very first line of defense, and if you look behind, there is actually a lot of line of defense. Depending on which direction they go, they may face different number of lines. So if you go by this direction, you will face one line, and then maybe Verbove itself is one defense structure. Then you have to see which direction you want to go. If you hit in this direction, you'll meet one line. Then if you go this direction, you hit 2 lines, because these are dual trench lines. And then so you can also go direct here. There's another 1 line instead of going 3 lines. So, or they may break through Robotyne going towards Prokopivka, one line, two line, and then yeah, it's how so many lines of defense. The Ukrainians are not going to have enough, to be honest. They need a lot more equipment. So if you are pro-Ukrainian and you are part of the European Union or the United States, you may want to talk to your MP, your representative, no matter what you call it in your country, and ask to give more weapons, because whatever the Ukrainians have right now is not enough. So moving on, Verbove, yeah, this is the one that is fighting. So that's all over at the Orikhiv sector. Over at this Velika Novosilka sector, as I mentioned before, the Ukrainians need to capture Pryone as well as secure this entire eastern flank of this Uruzaine. So then they can actually have fully secure Staromayoske and Uruzaine, so that they can secure this town. This entire area have to be secure. But the thing is, because it is not, so until today we still have reports of the Ukrainian forces getting hit over in this area here. The Russians are still very close by. So this is definitely not that good. And fighting seems to be stuck between the two, Uruzaine and Zavine Bazania, which is actually an Italian food, lasagna. No, it's not. I'm just joking. The fighting is still around this area here. So the Ukrainians still have not managed to break through, because mainly there's a river over here, the Mokryali River. So if the Russian forces actually hold their positions around here, it is quite difficult to break through the river, to be honest. So we shall continue to see. Of course, the Ukrainians can actually, and this is actually also being suggested by pro-Ukrainian sources. They say that the Ukrainians can actually go not care about Zavine Bazania, but actually go straight down towards Staromlimnivka over here. So the Ukrainians can actually head all the way straight down on the eastern flank of eastern side or eastern shore of the Mokryali River, and actually go straight for Staromlimnivka. But of course, the Russians definitely going to have defenses in this area here, and it's not going to be just a easy drive through. So let's see how the Ukrainians going to deal with this situation. And we do have this reporter fighting towards Kremenchuk, according to Myro Shinikov. We are not sure where the exact front line actually is, because there is differing information, like conflicting information, because the Ukrainians have not mapped it so far. So let's see how this goes. I would not think much about the fighting towards Mikhailske, because the pro-Russian source don't really talk much about Mikhailske, so I suspect it's not going to be something very major. Even Adivka front is kind of pointless to talk about. Usually nothing happened. And then we have this Russian counter attack, moving north, south, Adivka and GFK. I don't think much is going to move very quickly in the Bakhmut front as well. Crimea front, no hope. I don't think the Ukrainians can break through in that area. The Russians are just too strong in the Crimea front. And the Russian offensive, given the information coming from Sinkivka, Bremelin says that, according to Bremelin, they actually say that the Ukrainians are already out of Sinkivka. He said that it is a fact. And that, so I believe we're going to really see Sinkivka being captured by the Russian forces within the next few days. I think that's most likely inevitable. But let's see how this goes. We're not sure. Maybe he's wrong. So the Russian forces, if captured Sinkivka, that will be a great success, I would say. And then it will allow the Russian forces to continue to attack into Petropavlivka. But Petropavlivka. But I have to say the Russians then tend to give up on their offensive very quickly. This is already the longest offensive I've seen them go into for a long time. So let's see how this goes. And I think, yeah, that's the entire situation over in the Crimea, in this Ukraine region. Tentatively, there is no indication that the Wagner will enter war from Belarus, or the Russians will start this new offensive in the north or in Kharkiv. no indications of such thing is happening or will happen. And totally there is no incentive for the Russians to open a new front at this moment, because the Russians are not even doing proper offensive. If you look at the most of the front line, the Russians are just holding their lines. Except at the Kupiansk front, the Russians are attacking. You can see that the Russians are actually perfectly happy holding the line, and just let the Ukrainians smash into the wall. So yeah, so I don't think the Russian offensive is anytime soon. But these things can change really quickly, but I can only comment based on the information that I find. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.